Discover the incredible life-changing lessons from 100 crazy 1v1 fights in medieval history. Jack Thompson was a man shaped by stories. As he tightened the last bolt on an aging minivan in his cluttered Maplewood garage, he could hear his father's voice echoing through time, tales of chivalrous knights, epic showdowns, and the underdog that rose against all odds. Each story ignited a fire within him, a desire to fight with honor, to protect what mattered. Yet, in the fatigue of long hours at the shop, Jack often felt the American dream slipping through his fingers, rusting like the old cars he worked on. AT-38, Jack was not only a mechanic, he was a dad, a friend, and a neighbor in a suburb that felt more like an abandoned battlefield of dreams. Bills piled high, and every day was a new struggle for his two kids, Tommy and little Sarah. It was Tommy's innocent eyes that often pierced through Jack's fatigue, reminding him how much he wanted to build a brighter future for them. The boy was fearless in his belief that every conversation at the dinner table could unlock the magic in their world. Desperate to weave the fraying threads of community together, Jack birthed an idea: History Nights. Every Thursday, families would gather, drawn in by the promise of laughter, storytelling, and forgotten tales from the past. It started small, just a handful of neighbors sharing hot cocoa and recounting legendary 1v1 battles. But what began as a simple idea morphed into something beautiful, a tapestry of shared experiences, where laughter blended with unspoken struggles. As the nights progressed, barriers fell, and raw emotions surfaced. Old grudges faded for a moment, as stories of knights who laid down their swords for the greater good inspired many. Parents wept as they found solace in shared pain, lost jobs, bullying kids, dreams deferred. Yet just when unity seemed achievable, the cracks started to show. One fateful evening changed everything. Tommy returned home, his little frame trembling with tears, scars from school etched into his cheeks. "Dad," he choked, "why can't we afford those new shoes?" Jack's heart sank. The boy's words echoed like a dagger. Frustration coursed through him, igniting the warrior spirit his father had instilled in him. The impulse to confront the bully's parents surged within him, roaring like a lion. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amid the chaos of historical lessons and growing tension, Jack faced a dilemma. He recalled the shining armor of knights and the strength in humility. Could he embody that? Could he teach Tommy the value of forgiveness rather than vengeance? As thoughts twisted and turned, the pulse of his community beat wildly around him. The room grew silent, eyes locked on Jack, awaiting his next move. As uncertainty danced in the air, Jack realized this moment hadn't just been about his son. It was about the very fabric of their home, the healing of their community. Would he rise to justice through confrontation, or embrace the arduous path of forgiveness? The choice loomed larger than life, and with it came the hope that could finally mend their frayed ties, leaving everyone breathless, yearning for the answer that felt just out of reach. Jack's heart raced, and he took a deep breath. The room, full of neighbors who had shared their stories, waited for his response like a crossbow string pulled tight. Tommy's innocent question still rang in his ears. "Why can't we afford those new shoes?" He saw the hurt in his son's eyes flash before him, a pure expression of hope and disappointment. It was the same look he had seen in himself so many times. "Everyone, I need to say something." Jack finally broke the silence, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. "I may not have the answers right now, but I know it's time to bring our story to life, not just ours but the whole community's." He glanced around the room. The faces were familiar, yet they were transformed by the stories they had shared, the burdens of lost jobs, the trials of parenthood, and the echo of dreams that felt out of reach. With every meeting, they had slowly woven together, and now felt like battle-worn comrades. Jack could feel an unspoken challenge pushing them all to do something greater. Maybe it's time we went beyond storytelling. What if we turned our history lessons into action? He felt every eye on him, the weight of anticipation urging him to keep speaking. What if we come together, not just to tell tales, but to support each other and uplift our families? Whispers traveled around the circle. Jack's friend, Mike, nodded with enthusiasm. What do you mean, Jack? How? Jack contemplated for a moment, then spoke from his heart. A community project. Let us band together for something meaningful. We can host a yard sale, raise funds, and help families who need it the most, including my kids. Tommy deserves those shoes. It's not just about him, it's about all of us. He sensed the momentum shift. The initial shock on their faces turned to excitement. Ideas began to bounce around like arrows flying through the air. Some discussed old clothes they could donate, while others mentioned how they could set up bake sales. Laughter filled the room, and Jack felt a sense of connection growing among them. But just as the excitement began to build, a flicker of doubt tugged at Jack's heart. Was he asking too much? The question lingered, threatening to undermine their shared enthusiasm. He knew he couldn't guarantee success, but the fire sparked was difficult to ignore. Feeling the weight of his leadership, Jack turned to Tommy, who had slipped closer, eyes wide with hope. What do you think, buddy? Should we rally together? Maybe even get the whole neighborhood involved? Tommy's face lit up. Yeah! We can make it fun! Everyone loves a good sale. He bounced on his heels, and in that moment, Jack saw a glimpse of the man he hoped Tommy would grow to be, a fighter, yes, but also a compassionate leader. Yes! The room erupted with voices, like a symphony of hope. Yet, as dreams blossomed like spring flowers, Jack knew the challenge ahead. They would need to face their fears, doubts, and especially the judgment of those who often saw failure instead of support. Could he truly lead them? With hearts lifted, they filled the room with ideas, but Jack's mind remained tacked to the shadows of uncertainty. He could feel old habits, old doubts creeping in, reminding him how easily it could all fall apart. As the evening wore on, a new energy coursed through them. Jack realized that this project could restore not just his family's dignity but the fabric of the entire community. He felt the chants of those ancient knights in his veins urging him on. But even as plans solidified, a sudden thought hit him like a bolt of lightning. What if they failed? What if the same forces of despair that tugged on his family's heartstrings reached out and snatched their dreams? Just then, a voice broke through his musings. Sarah, a shy neighbor, raised her hand hesitantly. What if we don't have enough? What if? She paused, fear etching her words. What if things don't change? The room silenced. The honesty of her fear hung heavy in the air. Jack's heart raced at the potential chasm of doubt opening before them. Could they find a way through this uncertainty? Could hope grow amid fears? The question lingered like a challenge beneath the surface, pushing Jack forward into the unknown. And as they prepared for a fight for their community's hopes, he couldn't shake the feeling that this journey had just begun. Jack felt the air grow thick with Sarah's fear, a current of gloom attempting to snuff out the light they were beginning to kindle. The whispers had faded, replaced by an uneasy silence. He could see the doubt creeping into the eyes around him, replacing their earlier excitement. It was a moment that could easily send them spiraling back to their old selves, into doubt, apathy, and despair. Hey, he said, forcing his voice to carry warmth, I hear you, Sarah. You're right to worry. And sometimes it feels like we're shouting into the void. But that's exactly why we're here. To fight for what we want, to show it's possible. He straightened, the conviction surging through him. If we don't even try, we'll never know what's possible. Some faces started to nod, but others still held tightly to their fears. Jack took a step closer to Sarah, lowering his voice gently. You're not alone in this. None of us are. If we join together, we'll have each other's backs. We can lift our burdens together. Jack's steadfastness began to stir something in the room, a shared responsibility coiling around them. Let us not dwell on what might go wrong. Let us think about all that can go right. His heart hammered faster, but now with purpose. This was why he needed to lead. If not him, then who? Imagine every neighbor coming together, pooling their old things, those hidden treasures everyone has in their garages, using what we have to build something beautiful. He scanned the room and saw Tommy cheering him on from the sidelines, his small fists raised in solidarity. That simple gesture rekindled the fire inside Jack. Mike chuckled softly. Don't forget the cookies. People love cookies. Laughter bubbled up at the mention, breaking through the tension like sunlight on a cloudy day. Slowly but surely, faces lit up again. Ideas bounced back and forth, gaining momentum. A neighborhood yard sale. Bake sales with endless cookies. A community barbecue where they could serve lunch and raise funds. Let us call it Community Connect, Jack proposed, adding a banner of enthusiasm to the plans unfolding. We can make it a festival, an event where we not only raise funds, but also reconnect with each other. We can celebrate our strength. The excitement swelling filled the room, transforming uncertainty into hope. Jack could hear a shift in the energy. People were starting to believe in possibilities again. But in the back of his mind, an echo of doubt persisted. What if no one showed up? What if, after all this effort, they only felt the disappointment of empty tables and wasted time? Jack pushed the thoughts away for now. He had to focus on the path ahead. Over the next hour, they mapped out plans, duties, and timelines. Each person took ownership of a piece, fueling their confidence. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact now exchanged smiles and even tentative hugs. Remember, Jack reminded them gently as they wrapped up, we might stumble, but it's worth it. Together, we can do this. We won't just be raising money, we'll be creating a family. As they began to pack up, a sense of purpose enveloped him, powerful and spirited. He had never felt more alive, more connected, more hopeful, and yet the specter of doubt still loomed large, the fear of failure just a heartbeat away. Tommy pulled at Jack's sleeve. Can we go see what shoes we can find for me, Dad? He asked, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. In that instant, Jack understood what he was fighting for. It wasn't solely about shoes. It was about dreams, futures, and building a life where hope could thrive. As they walked home, Jack noticed the stars beginning to twinkle in the deepening twilight, like small embers on a wide canvas. Each one felt like a promise. But what would it take to make them shine even brighter? The echo of that question trailed behind him, and as they approached their door, Jack felt the weight of his resolve harden. Tomorrow would bring the first steps. What heights could they reach together? Would they find the courage to keep moving forward, despite the fear of failure lying in wait? He chuckled softly to himself in the cool night air, uncertainty still swirling around, lingering like a fog. Whatever happened next, Jack knew one thing: the journey had only just begun. The morning sun poured through the kitchen window, casting a golden light across the table where Jack and Tommy sat. The aroma of pancakes filled the air, mingling with the scent of coffee. Jack pushed the worry from his mind as he flipped the fluffy cakes onto plates. You know what today is? He asked, turning to Tommy with a grin. Tommy's eyes brightened. Yes. It's our big meeting for Community Connect. The little boy bounced in his chair, clearly energized by the excitement in the air. Jack couldn't help but smile. It warmed his heart to see Tommy so engaged. After breakfast they headed out. The streets of their neighborhood were alive, everyone buzzing with anticipation. People waved from porches, children sped by on bicycles, and laughter echoed like music. Jack felt a sense of hope wash over him. Maybe they could truly come together, pooling their strengths and dreams. As they approached the park, the familiar faces of their neighbors greeted them. Sarah was already there, a clipboard in hand, coordinating the day's agenda. Jack, I'm so glad you're here. She was no longer shrouded in fear but radiated a determined energy. Let us do this, he replied, a surge of excitement coursing through him. It felt like stepping onto a stage, ready to share an important story. They gathered under the shade of a large oak tree, a small crowd forming. Jack took a deep breath, scanned the faces around him, curious, hopeful, and eager. Today, we start something special, he announced. This isn't just another neighborhood event. It's our chance to create something lasting. Something we can all be proud of together. The crowd murmured affirmatively, and he noted the determined glances exchanged between neighbors. Jack shared the plans for the yard sale, the bake sales, and the community barbecue. The ideas flowed, each suggestion building on the last. Laughter rang out at Tommy's joke about coming in first place with the cookie sales. As enthusiasm cascaded like water, Jack couldn't shake the shaky feeling that loomed just beneath his excitement. It crept in when people started volunteering for different tasks. What if they all committed, but the turnout was low? What if everyone had high hopes, only to face disappointment? He shook his head, refocusing. They would bring it all to life. They had to. Just then, Tommy raised his hand, bouncing with excitement. "Can I run the lemonade stand, Dad?" Jack's heart swelled. Sipping lemonade as a family on sunny days was one of his fondest childhood memories. "Absolutely. You'll be in charge." "Awesome." Tommy's eyes sparkled with determination. As the meeting wrapped up, Jack noticed a few folks stepping away, murmuring doubts. He decided to follow. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked, approaching Sarah and Mike on the edge of the group. "I just worry sometimes," Mike admitted, voice low. "What if we put in all this effort and no one shows up?" Jack nodded, knowing those thoughts all too well. That fear is normal. But we can't control other people, only how we respond to them. If we create something genuine and inviting, people will show. Even if it's just for the cookies, he added with a wink. As they parted ways, Jack felt renewed. Maybe it was about how many people showed up, but the courage it took to try. He held on to that thought tightly. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows as they prepared for the next day. The stars began to twinkle again, and Jack looked up, wondering if their efforts would ignite the community's potential. Tommy tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, when are we going to make those signs?" "It's our next step, buddy," Jack replied, smiling down at his son. "Let's make sure the world knows about Community Connect." With a new sense of purpose, they turned homeward, but deep in Jack's heart, the question gnawed at him: would their shining plans be enough to light up the dark corners of doubt? The next morning bloomed bright and warm, promising the perfect backdrop for the events Jack and Tommy had envisioned. Jack awoke early, heart racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. Today was the day they would hang the signs, drum up support, and breathe life into the idea of Community Connect. "Dad, are we going?" Tommy's voice pulled him from his thoughts. The boy stood at the doorway, tousled hair and wide eyes pleading for action. "Absolutely. Let's make it count." Jack scooped up the brightly colored poster boards they had prepared the night before. The first sign read "Community Connect, Together We Can." In bold letters, penned by Tommy's careful hand. As they arrived at the park, the sense of community was palpable. Families were already out, enjoying the fresh air, warm blankets spread out under trees. They spotted Sarah and Mike setting up a table filled with flyers, donuts, and smiling faces, the tension from yesterday seemingly dissipated. "Hey, look! Our first customers," Jack said, nudging Tommy as they approached. Mrs. Wilkins, a neighbor known for her lively spirit and renowned banana bread, waved at them. "Lovely day for a community gathering, isn't it?" she exclaimed, her smile making Jack's heart race with hope. "It sure is. We're just getting started with posting signs." Jack beamed, sharing the enthusiasm that bubbled in the air. Tommy darted toward the board at the center of the park, giggling at an imaginary race with the wind. Jack watched him for a moment, feeling a sense of pride wash over him as he reminisced about his own childhood days, full of reckless joy and innocent dreams. "All right, everyone, gather round," Sarah called out as they continued to set up. People began to form a small circle, curious and eager. Jack noted the faces, the excitement mixed with a hint of skepticism. He couldn't help but feel a knot tightening in his stomach. "Today, we claim our space," Jack said, stepping closer to the crowd. "These signs aren't just pieces of paper. They represent our commitment to each other, our fight for a united community. Let us show everyone what Community Connect is really about." The neighbors exchanged looks of encouragement, but Jack sensed some lingering hesitation. Their faces reflected familiar fears, the same ones he felt. Would it actually work? Would people come? Tommy, sensing the mood shift, squeezed Jack's hand and squeezed it harder. Let us go hang them, Dad, he chimed, breaking the solemnity with his infectious enthusiasm. It lifted Jack's spirits just enough. They moved through the park, nailing signs to trees, lampposts, and fences, each thud of the hammer ringing out like encouragement. The laughter shared in those moments shattered the doubts hanging thick in the air, if only for a while. Midway through, Jack looked up and caught a glimpse of someone approaching, a figure he hadn't expected. It was Mr. Thompson, the local recluse, known for his witty comebacks and enigmatic presence. Jack almost didn't recognize him without his usual scowl. Thought I'd come see what all the fuss was about, Mr. Thompson said, arms crossed but a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. Community Connect, Jack replied, voice steady, channeling every ounce of focus into his words. It's about bringing all of us together. You should stay and be a part of it. For a moment, Mr. Thompson hesitated, but Tommy touched his arm, eyes full of positivity. You can help us with the cookie sales. You like cookies, right? That simple invitation shocked Jack. Would Mr. Thompson even consider it? Yet, to his surprise, the old man chuckled, amused by Tommy's enthusiasm. Could this be the spark they needed? Jack's heart raced anew, realizing that perhaps all it took was one person showing interest to inspire others. Hope danced through him. As they continued hanging signs, whispers of affirmation filled the air. Everyone had doubts, but together they could work through those uncertainties. Jack felt a flicker of possibility ignite within him. But deep down, another question lingered. Would they be able to sustain this momentum? As the final signs swayed gently in the warm breeze, the sense of connection grew stronger. The sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over everything, and they stood, a small army of hopefuls. Tomorrow, the first wave of events would begin. Jack couldn't shake the excitement and nerves that mingled inside him. Would all this effort truly illuminate the possibilities ahead? He looked at Tommy, eyes shining with excitement, and realized that tomorrow might just be the beginning. But for now, they were united in a hopeful endeavor, each step forward a testimony to their strength. As they started home, the question lingered like an echo in Jack's mind: could one small community truly change together? The sun rose again, bringing with it the promise of a new day, but this time, it felt heavier. Jack woke up with a knot in his stomach, nerves gnawing at him. Today was the first event for Community Connect, and while excitement buzzed in the air, he faced overwhelming doubts. Dad, wake up. We have to get going. Tommy's excited voice and soft nudges pulled Jack from his anxious thoughts. The boy radiated energy, his face a bright beam of innocence and optimism that made Jack's heart swell. All right, buddy, I'm up, Jack replied, forcing a smile as he rose from bed. He couldn't help but think how much he wanted to match Tommy's enthusiasm. In the kitchen, they whipped up a quick breakfast. Pancakes and syrup drizzled over plates, but all Jack could focus on was the clock ticking ominously on the wall. Did they have enough supplies for today? Would people even show up? Tommy looked up, mouth full of pancake. Dad, do you think people will like the games? I sure hope so, Tommy. We worked hard to plan everything. Jack took a deep breath, willing himself to stay positive for his son. As they headed to the park, Jack's heart raced. Families were already gathering, and the smell of fresh coffee and baked goods filled the air. As they stepped into the park, a wave of familiarity spread over him. There were neighbors he'd known for years, yet he felt a barrier between them, a chasm bridged only by the hopeful signs hinting at unison. Jack! Tommy! Over here! Sarah beckoned from their setup, surrounded by cheerful decorations that sparkled in the sunlight. The sight brought a flicker of warmth to Jack's chest, and he smiled as they approached. Good morning! We're almost ready for the kickoff, she chirped, tying ribbons to the tent. Looks great, Sarah, Jack replied, feeling a tinge of excitement. But just as he began to relax, the sky darkened with the threat of rain. Whispers rippled through the crowd like an unsettling wind. The weather forecast had promised a sunny day, but now gray clouds loomed like a massive weight over the community. Jack's optimism wavered. Would the gathering be ruined before it had even started? While Jack helped Sarah finish their setup, Tommy scampered off to play with a group of kids. He had such an easy way of collecting friends, and Jack admired the innocence that made it seem effortless. Suddenly, a sharp clap of thunder pierced the gathered air, and gasps rippled through the crowd. People exchanged concerned glances, and Jack's heart sank as he noticed a few families beginning to gather their things. "Maybe we should call it off," Jack murmured to Sarah, fear creeping in as the skies darkened further. "No! This is important," Sarah said, a firm resolve painting her features. "Let us at least try. It could mean everything to the community." Jack watched the determination in her eyes. Wasn't that why they had worked so hard? To uplift and connect? As droplets began to fall, he caught sight of Tommy laughing with the other kids, oblivious to the growing tension. "All right then, we go on," Jack shouted, surprising even himself. "Let us show everyone what Community Connect is made of." With the chant of determination ringing in his ears, Jack grabbed the bullhorn and called for attention. As the crowd gathered, he spotted Mr. Thompson joining them, begrudgingly pulling his raincoat tight around him. "Let's turn this storm into an opportunity," Jack declared into the horn, drawing nods of agreement. The gathered neighbors clapped, their sounds melding together, forming a collective heartbeat full of resilience. But just as Jack felt the wave of excitement roll back in, another clap of thunder reminiscent of a warning echoed overhead. Would their resolve be enough to weather this storm? Jack looked around, doubt crept back in. Was this push just a momentary escape from reality? Would they embrace this together, or would the rain wash away their hopes? And then he heard it, a soft voice among the crowd, "Let us make this a day to remember." Caught between hope and fear, Jack wondered if they could really hold on to this community spirit, despite the gathering clouds looming above. As the rain began to pour, it brought a new urgency. Today could either be a shining testament of unity, or a fleeting dream washed away. The question hung in the air: could they truly rally together, find joy in the storm, and prove that even the heaviest rain couldn't drown their dreams? The rain poured down in sheets, drenching everything in sight. Jack's heart raced, but he refused to let the downpour dampen their spirits. The sound of droplets hitting plastic tents and the ground created an unexpected rhythm, somehow fitting with the atmosphere of excitement and nerves around him. "All right, everyone," Jack shouted again, determination pushing through the uncertainty. "Let us shift gears. Who's ready for some games under the rain?" The crowd hesitated for a moment, uncertainty written across their faces. But then, one brave child squealed with delight and dashed into the puddles, splashing water everywhere. Laughter erupted, contagious and electric. The mood shifted, and Jack felt the collective tension ease. "Look at that!" Sarah laughed, pointing to Tommy, who had joined the other kids. They were leaping and swirling through the shallow lakes forming at their feet. "Maybe those puddles are a blessing in disguise." Jack couldn't help but smile. If anyone could find joy in the rain, it was children. He felt the spark of hope reignite within him. "Okay, folks. While we may not have perfect weather, we've got each other," he called out, urging more families to join in. "Let us embrace the rain." Slowly, heads nodded. Tentatively, people began to gather. It was a patchwork of laughter and chatter, families huddling together under shared canopies, the convergence of umbrellas creating a colorful mosaic of resilience. Games that had originally been planned were tweaked. Instead of classic lawn activities, this was now a splash zone. Water balloon tosses turned into relay races, where kids reveled in dodging the splattering bursts. Even adults, who originally stood uncertainly, eventually found themselves laughing as they joined their children, racing against one another in impromptu games. Jack felt a swell of pride as he looked around. There was Sarah, joining the children in a water dodgeball match. And there was Mr. Thompson, usually reluctant to engage, sporting a water-soaked shirt and a huge grin as he tossed balloons at his own grandkids. It was a transformation he couldn't have anticipated, and somehow it felt right. Caught up in the moment, Jack joined in the fun, laughing as he felt the cool splashes against his skin. Everything felt electric, alive, and connected. The storm had opened doorways, revealing a community that was ready to challenge the norm and join hands amidst adversity. But just as the event began to settle into rhythm, an unexpected bolt of lightning pierced the gloomy sky, illuminating the park in a blinding flash. A hush fell over the crowd, everyone looking around uncertainly, faces painted with concern. Thunder rumbled above, reminding Jack of nature's unpredictable temperament. He quickly felt the rising tide of anxiety clawing back at him. Would that one flash be enough to send everyone home again? His stomach twisted with worry. "Okay, folks, listen up," he shouted over the now crackling air, while trying to keep his voice steady. "Let's South stay close and keep the energy up. This is a community, and storms can't break our spirit." But as another flash of lightning flickered overhead, a powerful gust of wind swept through the park, sending papers and decorations flying. Jack watched helplessly as they scattered, symbols of their hard work lost in an instant. Could they stand firm against nature's fury? Would this moment they had built shatter once more? With the rain still pouring, Jack's heart raced. The community had shown they could shine even in the downpour, but this storm felt bigger. "Together, we're stronger," Sarah called, grabbing the bullhorn from Jack's shaking hands. She shouted into the crowd, capturing everyone's gaze. "This is our day to shine. Let us keep pushing through. We can face this storm together." As a chorus of cheers erupted around him, Jack wondered, could this be the breakthrough they needed as a community? Would this storm become a story they would tell for years to come? The question lingered in the air like the fading echo of thunder. Would they truly come together and seize this moment, or would fear pull them apart just when they needed each other the most? The sky darkened with a rumble that felt like a heartbeat of the storm itself. Jack glanced at Sarah, who stood strong at the front, her eyes gleaming with resolve. The energy in the crowd shifted. Something fierce was rising within them. "You feel that?" she asked Jack, a fire ignited within her. "They're ready for it." "I hope so," Jack murmured, but deep down, he felt it too. The way the community was gathering, standing side by side, a collective force against the storm. The murmurs of uncertainty had transformed into excited chatter and laughter once more. "All right," Jack shouted, letting the energy of the crowd fuel him. "What do you say we turn this storm into our own epic splash battle? If we can face this rain, we can face anything." The crowd cheered, each voice loud and confident, battling the sound of the thunder above. Kids sprinted past him, dashing to grab balloons and buckets of water, the rain joining in on their revelry. A sense of momentum surged through Jack, lifting his own spirits higher. For a moment, he was no longer apprehensive. He was filled with purpose. "Let us set up some zones," Sarah shouted, details spilling from her with enthusiasm. "We'll have water balloon fortifications. And oh, let us have an obstacle course." Ideas bounced around like the raindrops, growing more exuberant by the second. The rain, once a menace, became a catalyst for creativity. Jack was swept up in the chaos. The joy melted the fear away. He could see Tommy and the other kids excitedly preparing battle stations, while parents rallied to gather supplies for the impending joyful warfare. Yet in the midst of it all, another crack of lightning seemed to strike closer, and shivers rippled through Jack. Was it fear creeping back in? "Hey!" Sarah noticed his hesitation. "Remember what we said. We're stronger together." Her smile was unshakable, filled with the kind of courage that made Jack want to believe. Just then, a sudden gust blew through the park, pulling at their makeshift decorations once more. But rather than cower, the community responded. People grabbed the decorations and anchored them down as a team, laughter booming above the thunder's roars. Jack's heart swelled with pride at the sight. "Okay, everyone. Grab your water balloons," Jack called. "Let us show this storm we're here to have fun." With renewed fervor, the crowd jumped into action. Children and adults alike formed teams, laughter racing above the claps of thunder. Water balloon fortifications rose around them, pulling everyone in closer. The rain became a backdrop for a battle forged not in anger but in joyous camaraderie. On the count of 3, Sarah's voice rang out, and Jack felt the thrill build, anticipation stirring like a live wire. 1, 2, 3. Balloon after balloon shot through the air, splattering against targets with delightful bursts. Laughter and shrieks echoed, melding with the falling rain, creating a unique symphony of resilience and joy. Jack felt alive. Every splash, every cheer turned this stormy day into something unforgettable. He turned to see Sarah, her hair plastered to her forehead, beaming with delight. In that moment, he realized this day was about more than just facing the storm. It was about embracing life's unpredictable nature together. But just as they celebrated their triumph over nature's fury, a massive crack of thunder sounded overhead, shaking the ground. A glance at the children, eyes wide with exhilaration, quickly shifted to one of concern. "Hey!" Jack called, trying to contain a sense of dread creeping back in. "Everyone, let us gather under the trees." Would this spirited moment trickle away with the rain? Or would it become a turning point, proving their unity could withstand anything? The question hung in the air, electric and charged, as Jack waited to see how his community would respond to the storm's unforgiving intensity. Would they hold strong, or would the fear of nature extinguish the flame they had just ignited? The crowd hesitated, the weight of Jack's words heavy in the air. The thunder rolled again, deep and foreboding, almost like a warning. But then, something incredible happened. A child shouted, "We can do this!" And the sentiment sparked across the crowd like fire. "Yeah!" Another voice chimed in, "Let us show that thunder what we're made of." With those words, a wave of determination surged. Jack turned to Sarah, her eyes alight with belief. It was as if their spirits joined in a collective heartbeat, synchronized in defiance against the storm. They needed not just to survive the rain, they needed to thrive in it. "All right, let us regroup and get ready," Sarah announced, her voice carrying over the wind. "Under the trees, but let us make it fun. We'll set up a splash zone." Families rushed to gather under the shelter of the sprawling trees. The sound of water slapping against skin mixed with delighted laughter as a few brave souls started tossing their remaining water balloons at each other. Jack laughed, realizing that the storm, instead of halting their fun, ignited a fiercer bond within them. He felt the collective energy shift. It was no longer about merely confronting the rain or the thunder. It was about transforming a moment of fear into a festival of togetherness, camaraderie rising like the sun trying to peek through the clouds. "Okay, listen up," Jack bellowed, standing at the base of one of the larger trees. "We're going to have a splash-off. We'll compete for the biggest splash and best water balloon toss." Cheers erupted among the crowd, fueled by the thrill of competition. Tommy, a determined 8-year-old, raised his hand high. "Can we have a target contest too?" His face was serious, but the glimmer in his eyes was full of mischief. "Yes," Jack responded, a grin spreading across his face. "We'll have everything. Let us get creative." The air buzzed with activity. People began to form teams while others scavenged for improvised targets, the colorful picnic tables, empty buckets, and even a few tree stumps. Parents joined forces with kids, laughter intertwined with the sound of rain, yet amidst the escapade, Jack couldn't shake a lingering worry. With each rumble of thunder, he sensed the storm wanted to dampen their spirits. But as he looked around at his friends and neighbors, he felt a warmth that overcame the chill in the air. They weren't just battling the storm, they were embracing it together. "Okay, on the count of 3, we'll launch our splashes," Sarah declared, raising her own balloon, her smile infectious. Jack counted down, feeling adrenaline pulse through him. 1, 2, 3. They erupted into action, tossing balloons all around. The air filled with playful shouts and squeals of excitement as the soft impacts splattered everywhere. Water dripped off the branches and soaked the ground, creating a rain-soaked battlefield that radiated joy. Suddenly, an unexpected bolt of lightning illuminated the clearing, illuminating their exhilaration in vivid moments. Gasps echoed, but rather than fear, it stoked their enthusiasm. They were warriors claimed by the storm, united in laughter defying the elements. But just as the storm seemed to retreat and surrender, a chilling gust swept through, knocking many to their feet. Jack stood frozen, his heart racing. This sudden shift brought back the earlier unease. Was the storm preparing its final assault? "Everyone, stay close," he yelled, panic creeping into his voice. Would the courage they had built in the face of nature truly hold? Or would this storm show them the limits of their resolve? The questions hung heavy, pulsing with the rhythm of the storm, as Jack braced for what might come next. But the storm had a strange way of revealing strength and spirit. Thunder rumbled softly now, no longer a menacing growl but rather an echo of camaraderie, a reminder of their collective heartbeat. Jack looked around, and for the first time that day, he noticed not fear, but a fierce determination etched on every face. "Keep smiling. Keep playing," he shouted, his heart swelling with pride. The bond they were forging was palpable, a tapestry woven with threads of laughter, soaked with rain and joy. Children darted between puddles, splashing each other, uninhibited by the chaos. Parents dropped their worries like stones in the river, their laughter ringing clear and bright above the storm. "Let us build a fort," someone shouted. In seconds everyone was gathering crates, picnic tables, and tarps, constructing an improvised shelter amid the rain's melody. The community moved as one unit, laughter rising above the thunder, a testament to their resilience. Jack felt a surge of warmth and pride. This wasn't just a neighborhood gathering. It was a family fighting together. In the midst of it all, Tommy ran up to Jack, eyes sparkling like the raindrops. "Dad, look! We made a fort!" he exclaimed, pulling Jack toward the small sanctuary they had built with their neighbors. It wasn't just any shelter. It was an emblem of their courage, a symbol of the love that united them. Jack knelt beside his son, laughter erupting at the sight of the mismatched treasures that formed walls. As they peeked out from beneath their tarp, he saw Mr. Thompson helping a little girl with her balloon toss, and Sarah leading a team competition of splash battles. Each interaction pieced together the vision he had for Community Connect, a tapestry of support, laughter, and unity. "Can we do this every year?" Tommy asked, bouncing with excitement, splashing against the puddles outside their makeshift fortress. "Absolutely," Jack replied, realizing it was indeed a moment they would cherish forever. This day, born from uncertainty, had transformed into something magical. The rain, with all its fury, had softened their hearts and paved the way for their dreams to take shape. As the storm continued to swirl above, Jack's worries began to dissolve. They faced the thunder and the rain not as victims, but as warriors, ready to embrace every challenge together. This was a lesson not just in history but in humanity, the unyielding strength of community. Hours passed and finally, as the rain began to taper off into a gentle drizzle, an unexpected sight greeted them. The sun broke through the last remnants of gray clouds, spilling golden light over the park. The world ignited with color, and the warm glow kissed the faces of those who remained. Jack stood with his arm around Tommy, heart swelling with joy, watching as they released pent-up excitement into the air. "Look, Dad!" Tommy pointed at the sky where a rainbow emerged, vivid and wide. Cheers filled the air, unfiltered and raw, resonating with triumph. Jack felt a lump in his throat. Every hardship, every fear had been washed away, replaced by this unyielding bond. "Together we fought that storm," Jack said, his voice choked with emotion. "And together, we've emerged victorious." The crowd erupted in cheers, recognizing what they had accomplished, a powerful connection that eclipsed the rainstorm. The fears that once loomed so large faded into whispers amidst the laughter and community spirit. As the sun set, painting the heavens in hues of orange and pink, Jack knew they had forged a new path forward. They would support one another, uplift their families, and carry this shared experience into the next chapters of their lives. Jack turned to Tommy, the boy's eyes wide with wonder. "Remember this day, kiddo. It's the beginning of something special." Tommy nodded, beaming, and Jack felt a lightness in his heart. Hope had triumphed, and perhaps they had unlocked the true essence of the community his father had told him about so many years ago. "Let us pack up," Jack said, feeling the warmth of connection wrap around him. There's still more to do. And next time, let us make it even bigger. As they began to gather their things, Jack caught Sarah eyeing him, her grin a reflection of shared victory. She took a moment to step closer, her eyes brimming with elation. We did it, Jack. Thank you for bringing us together. No, he replied, putting a hand on her shoulder, it was all of us. To great beginnings. Jack called, raising a makeshift water balloon as a toast to the people who had become a family through laughter and trials. And just like that, as the remnants of the storm faded into memory, Jack's heart was full. They had ignited a spark that would burn brightly and inspire the community for years to come. But even in this moment of triumph, he knew one thing to be true: their journey was far from over. Now, the next chapter awaited with open arms. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of lifting each other up.